Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to my channel, Reflections with Essie. Thank you for tuning in. And those who have subscribed and are able to get this notification early, thank you for that. And those who haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you. So, the issue that I have today is not a really pleasant issue. It's a very painful issue. It's an issue about why most of our Zimbabwean nurses are dying. You relocate to the UK, you come like in the passenger seat like of an aeroplane, but when it's time to go back, you go back in the cargo section in a coffin as a corpse. That is something which is not nice, which none of us wants for ourselves, which none of us wants for our friends, which none of us wants for our mothers, our brothers, our sisters. But despite the fact that we don't like it, it is still happening. And we are losing our own nurses day and night. So today I'm just going to look at some of the factors which might be contributing to this. 90% of the nurses who are dying are just dropping dead. Sudden death, a case of sudden death. You hear that she was getting dressed to go to work, she just dropped down, or she was sitting a bus and she just dropped down. And you begin to wonder, why such a trend? Why do we have such a pattern? And if you noticed, I've got this band. It's a hospital and ID band. I spent the night in A&E yesterday. I wasn't feeling well. Chest pain, a bit of here and there. But the doctor cleared me and said I'm okay. But I'm going to talk about it later as well in the video. The first reason is because most of us are on a visa. A work visa, tier 2 work visa. Which stipulates that you have to work for a minimum of 37.5 or 48 hours a week or so many hours according to your contract. If you do not meet those contractual obligations, that may affect your visa, that may eventually affect your stay in the UK, that may affect even your eligibility for indefinite leave to remain. So you'll find that people now prioritize protecting their work more than their health. And most of the NHS and I'll talk about the NHS and the care home scenario. In the NHS, there's a certain number of days that they will look aside and like, okay, it's fine if she's unwell for 1, 2, 3 episodes. The 4th episode, we're calling her for a hearing or we are referring her to occupational health so that they can assess her to see if she's fit enough to work or if she's not. So nobody wants such meetings, nobody wants such confrontations. So people will just go to work even though they are not feeling well. Like me, I started having this chest pain yesterday around 2 hours at work. But because I knew I could see the theater list and we were just on skeleton stuff, I couldn't say I'm going home and I'm unwell. Where were they going to get the replacement staff? You see, you start to think of your team, you start to think of your team members, you start to think of your visa obligations, you start to think of your workplace relationship with your manager. That's how if I start acting up, how is the relationship gonna be between me and my manager? Fine. And we're still in the care home. If you don't go to work, you will not get paid. For some conditions, such as COVID-19 or workplace-related illnesses such as COVID-19 and injury in the workplace, they may give you statutory sick pay for 2 or 3 days, not exceeding 5 days. But if you look at the money, I think statutory pay is paid at £2 or £3 per hour, and you will see after 3 or 4 days the money you get is 40, 50, 60 pounds, and that's not even enough to pay a gas bill. So people will still go to work even if they're unwell, because here you only earn if you work. And if you look at it, people don't want to mess up their visas because they came here. It's not only about them, it's about their children as well. their spouses as well. So the whole family is dependent on the visa holder, which is me, the nurse. So I'll tend to put myself last in the equation and put my children first. So I'll have to protect my job at whatever cost, even if it means going to work when I feel unwell. And not to mention the weather. I was reading in this other article, the weather is a very big contributing factor because it's cold most of the time. The viscosity of the blood tends to become a little bit thicker, and there is high risk of thrombus formation. That is why you see most of our local patients, the white people, most of them are on warfarin, most of them are on clopidogrel, most of them are on enoxaparin, most of them are on edoxaban and stuff because of the weather. You would need a blood thinner. And that's not something that our system is used to. That is not something that we are used to. We are not used to be taking any chronic medication. We are used to just surviving. If I eat my food, I drink my water, I'm fine. I don't need maybe family planning tablets. That's all we need to take. Most of us just thrive on air naturally. So the issue of taking chronic medication is not something that we are really... Back at home, we only knew that when you're old, when you're above 50 and stuff, that's when you start saying, oh, my periods are sugar, my periods are BP and whatever. Some of those stereotypes and stuff. So for us, the younger generation, to comply with such medication, it may be difficult. That brings me to the third point, which is about lifestyle. And because of our work patterns, you're supposed to be at work for 12 hours. And because of the workplace distances, you will find that you drive to work 1 hour, 12 hours at work, then 1 hour back. Spend 14 hours or 15 hours at work, including the drive time. When you get home, you just have maybe 1 hour to shower and eat and just clean around, take clothes out of the dryer, blah, 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 and then you sleep. Most of us sleep for 4 to 6 hours maximum. I don't think anybody sleeps more than that. And I said most of us, not all of us. Of course, some do sleep better. But it's very difficult because of the sleep pattern. Back at home, you'd go to work at 7, you knock off at 4. You go home, you get home around 5:30, even though you're using public transport. By 5:30 p.m., you'd be at home. You start washing the plates, wash the babies, clean the house, help them with homework and stuff. By 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you're even ready to go to bed. You start tossing and turning and stuff. 10 o'clock, you've fallen asleep. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock, you've woken up. And because back home in Africa, a maid is quite affordable, a helper. You'd get a helper for $80 a month. The other advantage in Africa is that you get to have a maid, a helper, someone who can help you. So even if you're coming from work, you've got enough time to rest, you've got enough time to look after yourself, even just relax and watch a movie and stuff. But this side, you will not get a maid. You will not get anybody to help you. So you work double. You work at work, you come and work in the house. All the work will be waiting for you. As a mother, you're expected to do everything within the home. Then the other issue which is affecting most of us is black tax. Black tax simply refers to the demands from our family, demands from our relatives, demand from our dependents back in Africa. They expect us to cater for their needs. They expect us to buy them groceries. They expect us to pay school fees for their children. There are a lot of expectations. Some of them going back to like, oh, I raised you, I paid your school fees when you're going to school, I did this for you, I took care of your father, I did this, so you kind of owe me. So because we, even our parents, you'll find because of our cultural patterns and systems, if you don't take care of your mother, if you don't take care of your father, things will not be well for you. You may tend to struggle for the rest of your life because you're not taking care of your parents. So you'll be forced, even if things are not okay, you'll be forced to make sure you send a 50 pound, a 100 pound note, anything. You have to send something to your parents so that you continue surviving well. But of course, because of how we're brought up, in some family dynamics, if you can't send, maybe you're the only breadwinner. Everyone, all the other siblings in Africa might actually be struggling to survive, might actually be struggling to get jobs. So you are the only one who is overseas, who is gainfully employed. And when people are fully dependent on you, even if a child falls and grazes their knee, they have to call you and tell you. Even if a rat comes into the house, they have to call and tell you. Even if the water is been cut off by the municipality, they have to call and tell you. Even if everything, even if this other old great uncle passes away, they have to call you and tell you. So you become so overwhelmed emotionally, socially, economically. Issues from back home are affecting most of us. And the bad thing is, irregardless of the social issues that you might be facing, you are supposed to show up at work the next day, putting on the best version of yourself, putting up a smile for your clients and patients, performing, because here we're dealing with human lives, so you have to be careful. You have to give it your best show. So that alone, bottling up emotions, bottling up all those stresses, that you still have to smile the whole day at work, but you know that your mom is not feeling well back at home, or that other aunt whom you are so close to, who helped in your upkeep as you're growing up, is unwell. You can't tell that to everybody that you meet. Unlike in Africa, yes, you can tell your patients your personal problems that you have. They'll say, oh, my aunt is this, and then you can also relate to this patient and say, oh, my sister, where do you come mubva kupi kumusha? Mubva kuchiweshe. Nene ndobva kuchiweshe. Tete vangu vanonzi mai moyo munovaziva here. Ndivo vakandirera vaya bhandakawa kuti havasi kunzwa mushe mazuva ano. Mukafambirako munovafarisa. These are some of the conversations we have with our patients in Africa. We relate with them. So you have to put on a completely different jersey when you come here. Sometimes you have to pretend the person that you are not. You have to smile even though you don't feel like smiling, because you are a nurse. You need to make the next person feel better, even though you yourself don't feel better. You don't feel good yourself. So putting up such shows is so taxing emotionally. So people are bottling up a lot of issues. They've got nobody to tell. Unlike in Africa, if someone is gossiping about you, there are ways of dealing with them. You go, you confront them, you ask them or whatever. But here, even if you hear someone is gossiping about you or whatever, there's nothing you can do, because remember, you've got a pin to protect. So you have to watch your every step and how you interact with people. So it's kind of very difficult. Then the other issue is the lifestyle, like I was saying, that you sleep for less hours, and because you are very tired coming from work, whether you're working a day shift or night shift. Worse if you're working a night shift. If you're working a night shift, you go through, you like wake up in the morning, like you're not in the morning around 8, prepare for the kids and stuff, clean the house and stuff. 2 or 3 o'clock you go back, you pick the kids up from school, then home around 5, 6 for the night shift. You don't sleep at night, even if though you get a break, you're supposed to be alert in case something happens. And because of our workplace policies, you really have to be alert when you're at work, otherwise you lose your pin. So in the morning you leave, you do handover and stuff, you get home around 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Do school run and stuff, and the cycle continues. Even during the day, you can't sleep enough. So if you're working like night shift, if you've been working for 4 or 5 years, chances are you haven't slept well in 4 or 5 years. That alone is taxing on the human body. even though you're working day shift, like I said earlier about like having to go to work, come back, cook for the kids and stuff, and no helper, it's really very difficult. Then the other factor is work related stress. Some of the environments that we are working in are really toxic, and it's not so easy to leave, because sometimes the employers will say, we paid a lot of money for you to come from Africa, so if you want to leave, you have to pay us back £5,000, £6,000, £4,000, so that we can release you. And already this is a toxic place where you're failing to cope and you're crying day and night. That is so stressful on your mental health, your emotional health, your wellness generally. So people are so stressed about the kind of workplaces they are working in. And to put the icing on the cake, there's also the pin issues. You cough, they say you lose your pin. You laugh, you lose your pin. You sit down, you lose your pin. You touch the walls, you lose the pin. Everything is you lose the pin. So you have to creep and crawl on eggshells. Like even the way you talk, the way you look, the way you smile, the way you everything, you just have to be careful, because you will lose your pin. So this other thing which they call the pin, I don't know how to say it, but it's affecting most people, because where we come from, we are only guided by the professional regulations and our own moral compass, that you should just do good to the next person. Just treat them like they were your mother, treat them like they were your sister, treat them the same way you would want to be treated, because next week you're gonna be a patient too. So be kind to everybody. And if you do not know something, ask somebody. People, we have our own WhatsApp group, so we text to ask, well, how do you manage this? What if this? What is this? You ask your friends. We have our own networks where we support each other with workplace issues. We've got our sister in charge on the ward who's quite friendly and stuff, all those things. So it's never a dull moment at work. And the next stressor is social stress. The fact that we left our own mothers, and most of our mothers are now old and generally unwell, age-related illness, backache, knee pain, blood pressure, whatever, all those illnesses, diabetes. We left our mothers back at home and they've got nobody to care for them. That alone is stressful. You start to feel guilty. Why did I even come? Was I not selfish? Wasn't I supposed to stay with my mom? My mother needs me. And that allegiance that we have towards our parents because of our cultural wiring, so it's so stressful. And you bring your kids here because you spend 15-16 hours at work. The kids are growing up in autopilot, and some of our kids are engaging in antisocial behaviors, unsafe sex, drugs, alcohol, partying, and all those things, smoking, everything, because we are not really there to be with them, because we have to work, we have to protect the pin, we have to protect the visa. Some things start taking precedence over other things. And the fact that your kids are just going off rail is emotionally stressful. And because of the long work patterns, you'll find that sometimes you have to work opposite shifts with your husband. And that alone can affect your marriage. Some of us, we have got sellotape marriages which are bound by sellotape. Some of the marriages are failing to withstand the pressures of the United Kingdom. That you spend the whole week without spending time with your husband, or all the good times you used to have at home. Even if you I'm gonna be sleeping with my wife or have sex or whatever, you do it in a different way as compared to when you come this side. You'll be too tired to do all those funny jiggy things, So if your marriage is made of tissue paper, it may fail to withstand the weathers and the pressures. So that alone is so stressful. Many marriages have crumbled. Many people are just coexisting as housemates so that they take care of the children, like for childcare and stuff. But the marriages would have been long dead because of the work pattern and the social wiring, the social patterns of the site. And the other issue is the kind of food that we have to eat. There is no mugaiwa this side. If you have to find mugaiwa, it's so expensive. You only have to eat super refined foods such as iwisa, which is extra white maize meal. If you have to buy organic food, it's so expensive. 4 leaves of rep can cost you even £2 in some other places. Just 4 leaves of organic rep from the garden. A single tomato can cost £1, a single tomato. So we end up eating inorganic food like artificial and GMO food, which is against our system. We end up eating, because of the poor work patterns, we end up eating microwaved food, fast food, crisps, fizzy drinks, takeaways, Nando's, McDonald's, all those things. Because you are eating on the go, you have to go to work. And when you're at work, you have to buy a sandwich from the cafeteria and stuff. If you have to bring your own food from home, like sadza, mtakura, this, rice and whatever, they will frown and say, what are you eating? So you end up eating food which is not proper. So those are some of the things which are really affecting our health. You end up having high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, developing cancer, and most of the cancers are silent killers. You only know about it when it is in stage 4. No symptoms, no what. When you get there, it's just an advance. Or you may never know that maybe you've got this kind of cancer or whatever. So it's so difficult. Then, the financial burden. When we come here to the UK, it's only me, the nurse, the sponsored worker, who's got a guaranteed job. My spouse has got no job because it's so difficult to get a job as an accountant or teacher or anything else that he was doing back at home. So it's either he has to deroll, become a care support worker, or work in the factories, of which most of our men don't want that. So you'll find that only maybe the house is running on one income, or the husband is working and living. He's in work 1 week, off work 2 weeks, in work 1 week, and that's the patterns in the warehouses. Most of them don't give full-time employment. They just get you like only when they have got high deliveries and stuff. And when they don't have high deliveries, you're not supposed to come to work. So the financial burden is too much. And remember, the husband's family is looking, they've got their eyes on you. Your own family have got their eyes on you. All of them want to be supported by you. And considering the high cost of living in the country, it's kind of difficult and very stressful. And also to look at our own expectations. Like I told you, I just turned 38. I'm going to be 40 soon. I would need a house of my own, a car. At home, I need to find a house. I need to do this. All those pressures. I have to do this. I have to do this, And you'll be seeing people on Facebook posting their houses. Some of the nurses we left back at home in Zimbabwe, they're doing things. While it's here, we can't even buy a small stand in the rural areas in Shombe because it's so expensive here. So sometimes you start to doubt yourself, you start to regret why you even came, you start to, of course I know you're not supposed to be in a competition with anybody, but there are certain things that you yourself as an individual, you set targets for yourself, that by next year I should have done this. And if that is not achieved by then, you start to feel unhappy. And all that affects your emotional and mental health. Already there are all those other things that I've been talking about, which are already heaped on your shoulders and giving you sleepless nights and affecting your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health. So there's a lot going on. And because of the financial challenges, people end up overworking. Fatigue is the greatest killer in the UK. Fatigue. People end up working. I used to do it myself. I would go to work. My normal work was 7 to 7. Then when I knock off at 7, especially if it's a Friday, I would drive 1 hour. I would call my husband to come and with clothes in the car and food. He comes, I change in the car, I eat while he's driving. He takes me to the next workplace. I go for a night shift there. In the morning, I come, I sleep. I would have worked a shift, a 24-hour shift. And some people are still doing it. They work 24-hour shifts back to back. There's a nurse that we used to work for, she's from Ghana, to work with in my old job where I was working. Her uniform stayed there in the office. She would never be in her house. She'd be from workplace A to workplace B, workplace A, workplace B, day in workplace A, night shift in workplace B. And it's because of the demands. You realize that you're now 50 or 55 and you don't even have a place to call your own back at home. Even if you have to go back at home, where are you going to stay? So they end up working double, because there is not enough money to survive here and to invest back at home. Then the other issue, mixed work patterns. You have to work day shift, they call you, there's a shortage, come night shift and this and this. That alone, it's so stressful. It's so stressful because the night shift here is different from the night shift back at home, where the patients sleep and the nurse can also elevate their legs. Here, when it's night shift, you're walking up and down the whole night. You are walking up and down the whole night. Most of the patients don't sleep because they're in pain and stuff. And because of that pain, which I spoke about earlier, if you just doze off, they will report you to the NMC and you're struck off. Because they say you put the patient's life at risk when you dozed off. So those are some of the things we are meeting in the workplace. Then, the greatest killer of all is the NHS. The health delivery system this side is, let me reserve my comments. Let me comment my reserve. I'll tell you about what happened to me yesterday. I had this chest pain, and because of the work patterns which I was talking about earlier, I told you I've got a hospital like tag. I slept in A&E yesterday. I just, okay, let me wait and see if the pain is gonna go away and stuff. Around 5 p.m. I knocked off, I came home, cooked for the kids and stuff. 9 o'clock, I was waiting for my husband to come so that we can just pray as a family and retire. Fine. 10 after 10, I was asking him, should we sit and watch a movie for 1 more hour or we should go upstairs? Then he said, let's sit for a while. As I was sitting, I felt sharp pain in my chest. I started feeling that squeezing and sharp pain earlier from 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I spoke about it. So I said, let me just call the out of hours GP and ask what it could be. I tried searching on Google, and Google was telling me all sorts of things. It might be a lung infection, it might be this, but how can I have a lung infection? I never had a cough or whatever. I'm fine. This is hard, I know. So I called the out of hours GP. They said, from what you are describing, we need to rule out a possible heart attack. So we are going to send an ambulance just now. Expect it in about 45 minutes. But like I said, if you told them you're critical and stuff, the ambulance came in 5 minutes. They were there. They took my ECG, they did everything. They said, the ECG is fine, but we still have to send you to hospital so that they can check your bloods, like TROP-T levels and stuff, cardiac enzymes, blah, 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 so that they rule out the possibility of a heart attack. So I went to the hospital. I said, no, I can walk, I'm fine. They said, at least you have to look the part. Remember, you're coming in an ambulance. I sat in the wheelchair, they took me to the emergency room. I had my another ECG done, I was admitted and stuff. And they said, okay, we've tried you, you're stable. you can talk, you can, like, you're stable, you're not in any pain. Because the chest pain would come and go, it was transient. Fine. So I was like, okay, go and sit in the waiting area. You wait for your bloods, you wait for the doctor to see you. I went, I sat in the waiting area. 30 minutes later, someone came and took my bloods. They took my bloods. I had to wait 5 hours for the doctor to come and see me. Luckily, I had taken a small blanket. I took off my jacket, I used it as a pillow. I slept across the, I think about 4 chairs, covered myself with a blanket and slept there. 6:30 a.m. That's when the doctor came to call me. Went into the doctor's room, said, oh, you're fine, your bloods were fine, your ECG is okay. Just go home and continue taking aspirin for your angina and whatever. That was it. And I would say this was the quickest turnaround. The other time I went with my husband, we spent 2 full days waiting for scans and x-rays and blah, 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 blah. 2 full days in A&E at one time. So imagine, you have to work, you have to maintain your visa, you don't want to trigger you don't want to trigger your off sick days and whatever. You continue going to work and ignore the symptoms. Even if you want to phone a GP appointment today, they'll give you an appointment 2 or 3 weeks later. And the date when they give you, you might be working and you can't ask for an off day. So you'll see people end up going to work like that. It's different from how things are done in Africa. If you knock off from work at 5 o'clock, you go to the hospital outpatient. You sit there, you'll see the doctor, you have your bloods done, you have your scan, your x-ray, everything done. The doctor's review in 1 day. Here they'll take a scan, they'll tell you to come next week for the scan results and stuff. I'll talk about it. I'll make a full video about the NHS processes when my husband is much better and tell you and narrate to you the whole event of how we got to his diagnosis, his treatment, whatever. So if you're someone who is working, you can't really do that. There is no room for illness in the UK work pattern. You can't afford to be ill if you're on a visa. And if you're not working and you don't get a salary, it means you're going to be failing to pay your rent. And my rent at the moment is £1,000. So if I fail to pay £1,000 this month, next week I have to pay 2,000. That's 1,000 for this month and 1,000 for next month. That will never be possible. I can't afford that. Never. Because my own salary is around 2,000. What about the bills? What about the food? What about transport? What about council tax? What about this and this and this and this? So you can't afford to be ill. You can't afford to miss your monthly rent. You can't. There's no room for you to be sick. So those are some of the pressures that our own sim nurses are facing. And you just hear, oh, she dropped down dead. Because someone will be walking, but they are going through such things. They are going through a lot. Especially around the work pattern. The work itself is sometimes, And with this video, I would like to pay my condolences to everyone who's lost a friend, a sister, a mother, a father, a brother. I'd like to pay our respects to our fallen heroes, all the nurses who have left us. And the other thing is, some of the deaths, the people will just be arriving in the country. And remember the adjustments, trying to adjust and suit the patterns here, the culture here, the timetables, trying to get the family to follow, especially with these visa issues. You apply. I know someone, a nurse, who has had 3 declines. She has got 4 children. She wants them to come. The children's visas have been declined 3 times, and she's going to apply for the 4th time now. And for each visa application, considering the TB test, the transport costs, and the visa applications, it costs about 1,500 each process. So she has lost about £5,000 in visa applications. And she still has to send money to the children, to her parents, and to survive here. And then you hear someone say, oh, she just dropped dead. It's because people are going through a lot. People are going through a lot. So we'll continue sharing in this channel on strategies on how to cope, how to survive, how to walk past and like just navigate ways around it, so that we remain healthy and be able to fend for our children and families. Above all, make time for yourself. Love yourself first. Visa or no visa, put your health first. There's only one of you. If you die, they'll be advertising your post and issuing the next visa and the next COS to the next available nurse, either from India, from Taiwan, from wherever. So please, let's not prioritize this visa and ILR issue as if it were our oxygen. Myself first, visa or no visa, I'll still survive. If I could survive for 35 years without a visa, I'll still survive another 35 years with or without the PIN, with or without the visa. So let's not stress ourselves too much with these things. Let's try to be kind to ourselves. Love yourself. Prioritize your health. Join wellness classes. Take care of yourself. Take care of your families. We can't continue to lose more nurses. You are so precious, my fellow nurses. Over and out. Until next time.